guys, welcome back to another one of my videos. Sorry it's been a little bit of a gap, working as always, so not really had time to get in front of the camera. However, today what the aim will be is to have a quick tour around the cockpit and actually see, the main systems on the 737. The aim today is not really to go into great depth about the systems, it's mainly labelling them. And just a bit of a warning as well, this shouldn't be used for training purposes at all, it's just for all personal use. So without further ado, we'll crack on underway. So, it's a new camera, so bear with me, it does rotate, it's pretty fancy. And then what we'll do is we'll just have a bit of a look around. I'll just rotate it this way again, just to get the good view. That's better. So the 737-800, probably one of the most famous planes going to date. On the left we have the captain's seat, and on the right the first officer's seat. And what you can see straight away is that everything is in sections, and what I mean by this is, as you can see, we have some instruments below, we have some instruments above, and also we have centre instruments with associated buttons as well. And what we'll do is we'll just go through the key areas today just to give you a good insight. A lot of you flight simmers out there as well, this might help you if you're trying to familiarise yourself with the 737 environment, but I hope you enjoy it. So let's start off then. So to begin, as you can see, we have two instruments, and these two instruments are located on the left and two instruments on the right and one in the centre. I'm going to go to the captain's side and explain a little bit more into detail about what these are. There we go. And what we can see here, I don't know if it shows up very well on this camera, we have two screens. We have the primary flight display, navigation display. The primary flight display consists of a artificial horizon, big blue and brown square, with the airspeed indicator in knots on the left and the altimeter on the right. Located below is the heading indicator. On the right side we have the navigation display, which also provides heading reference, and additionally that screen especially can go a lot more into detail. There are multiple modes on the actual screen we can use. However, today I'm not really going into detail about what those different modes are, but that is the navigation display. Located here is the yoke, and also on the right we have the yoke also on the FO side. Great. Transferring up, zooming in, master caution, the light just there, and moving to the right is the mode control panel, and that is the MCP. What we have on here is a lot of the buttons up here are related to the autopilot system. However, that being said, we do set these values even if we're not using the autopilot. So here we have airspeed, IAS, Mach number, heading, altitude. Over here we have autopilot command A and autopilot command B, and control wheel steering A and control wheel steering B. So quite heavily used in a lot of the flying. You will find that the MCP also has some additional switches on here that, I may go into a little bit in more detail a little bit further down the line. However, that there is the MCP just for this video today. And I forgot to mention we have an EFIS on the left, EFIS on the right. Having a little bit of a look down then, I did forget to mention the centre instruments. Here we have our engine indications, and on here we have engine 1 and 2, N1 at the top. Below the two dials are the exhaust gas temperature, or EGT, N2, FF, fuel flow, oil pressure, oil temperature, oil quantity, and vibration. The fuel flow, oil pressure and oil temperature is currently blank at the moment, as the engines are not running. We have in the corner the fuel. We have a digital stab trim indication on this simulator, and engine 1 and 2 we have low oil pressure indicators there. Again, not really great on the camera, but they are there in yellow on the top right. Moving along, landing gear lever, 3 greens, and all the flap limit speeds and landing gear limit speeds are located just below. Moving along, best part of the plane, flight management computer. This controls the performance and navigation of the aircraft, and to be honest, it is the tool we use probably the most when in here. The main thing we use this for, again, going back to performance, checking out the V-speeds, cruising altitudes, economy climbs, all those associated elements that are used through the FMC, and also navigation as well, airway information, SIDS, stars, waypoints, ILS, all that information is fed through here, and a very, very important tool. We can just see that on there. We have the pages. We have ident, position, performance, takeoff, approach, offsets, nav data, and again, if you enter these little bits, or little chapters as I call them, it does contain quite a lot more additionally in those sections, so quite heavily used. Down here, having a little bit of a look, we have the throttle, engine 1 and 2, two-engined aircraft, the 737, speed brake, flaps. The flap handle is operated by lifting the actual lever, trim wheels on the left and right, parking brake, which is here, red means it is on, fuel cut-offs, and stab trim. Moving on, down here we have engine 1 APU and engine 2 fire pull handles just there. That's basically the fire protection system just there. And down here we have the pedestal, and the camera is nearly there, there we go. And we have the comm boxes 1 and 2 over there, and then we have nav 1 and nav 2 over there. Quite heavily used, especially if you're tuning to a navigation station. ILS frequencies are used in these boxes. Comms, VHF are talking to approach, tower, etc. We have cargo fire switches here as well. Transponder, rudder trim, aileron trim. Also we have ADF and mic selectors as well. So that's quite an involved panel down there as well. And then not to forget to mention SELCAL just down here as well. And finally, last but not least, the camera goes all the way up, and this is going to be tricky to manoeuvre. I will do my best. There it is. It's quite easy, this camera, when you get used to it. Overhead. So, what have we got? Well, again, you can see it's split into sections. Zooming all the way up to the far top left, we have flight control system, which is here. We have navigation transfer switches, which are here, and display switches. Fuel pump system, which is here. Electrical system, which is here. We have associated circuit breaker light systems, equipment cooling, seatbelt sign, bing bong sign as I say, and wipers here as well. Moving up, it's quite tricky to operate the camera and do this at the same time. Window heats, probe heats, engine anti-ice just there as well. We have here as well, we have the hydraulic pumps, and then here is the pressurization system. Moving up this side here, bleed air system, and then coming up here as well, trim air system as well, which is just in the corner. And at the far aft we have the aft overhead panel, which the main system up here, if I just get a little bit closer for you, is the IRS system, currently in nav mode as I'm currently at work at the moment. So they are a few little sections of the plane. It's a very, very dense environment, quite a lot to take into account. As you can see, just scanning down the overhead, all these sections are split into subsections, little switches there that I've probably not covered, but I can go into detail about these a little bit later as well. But that there is more or less it. I hope that's just give you a little bit of an insight. I'm going to spin the camera back around now. Here I am. So I hope that's gave you a little bit of an insight into what's in the 737 environment. The thing to consider about all these switches and all these buttons currently at the moment is that it's a lot of learning, don't get me wrong, and unfortunately a lot of manual reading, but in aviation, yes, there's a switch. It's about knowing what that switch is. How does it affect, you know, the aircraft by flicking that switch? So a lot of learning, a lot of time, a lot of practice. This is what the simulators are here for, you know, to make sure that we're, you know, nice and happy, and we're, you know, we have good knowledge about the aircraft as well, which is really important. So thanks for tuning in. I hope it's just gives you a little bit of an insight to, you know, the main sections in the 737. The video wasn't never intended to go, you know, into specifics, because we'd be here all day, we really would. If you've got anything in mind, anything that you want me to go a little bit more into fine detail about in regards to the cockpit environment, that would be great. You know, drop me a comment below. You know, as an Right guys, so thanks very much for watching my video again. If you could hit the like button, that would be great, and subscribe, that would be also great. I was just about to mention as well, the sound went a little bit weird on the recording of the main video in the sim, so I'm having to re-record it. But I was just going on about, you know, the button side of things. You know, learning the systems does take quite a lot of time. There is a lot of reading material, so you know, if you can seek out some materials, you know, to give you a hand with that sort of environment, whether you know you're just an enthusiast or you know you're coming onto type rating, you know, having a good strong background with, you know, the systems, not just knowing it's a switch, but you've got to know your systems on the aircraft, regardless of what aircraft you fly, is really, really important. So great, thanks very much. So you know, you can follow me on Aviationist01 on Instagram. You can also give me a like on Facebook under Aviationist. But I'll aim to keep the videos coming. Thanks very much, and thanks for tuning in. Bye bye.